Welcome to Lifestyles of the Not Jet Set, a science fiction show of sorts, imagining what a travel and tourism show would look like in a future world that was making rapid progress towards greenhouse gas reduction. Today, as you can see, I'm in Mexico City, one of the world's most amazing cities, a metropolis of 21 million people, far bigger than any city in the United States. I love the food and the nightlife and the wonderful parks, including famous parks like Chapultepec that has all of the internationally famous museums, but also all the smaller tree-lined parks on every street corner, hundreds of them across this city. In this time of climate crisis, I take interest in how transportation works. You can imagine what a struggle it is for a city of this size. It includes the obvious things like buses and a metro system, but it also includes more innovative things like special long buses, longer than any that I've ever seen in the United States, that work like subway cars. You enter and exit them from a platform. Or the eco-cycles, the rental bicycles, or even gondolas for some of the barrios up on the hillsides as Mexico City overspills the original boundaries of the Valley of Mexico. But for followers of this video series, you know that I have a special interest of the history of the places that I travel to. You can see in past episodes the history commentary of Chicago or Memphis or Bretton Woods in New Hampshire or Vermont. But I'm aware that much of that history is fairly recent compared to, for example, the medieval history and Gothic cathedrals and participatory action of pilgrimage that I enjoyed on past travels in Spain in times when I used to fly. And so you can imagine what a pleasure it is to be here in front of this metropolitan cathedral in Mexico City, whose Baroque face is influenced by those same cathedrals from Spain. Built in sections from 1573 to 1813 under the Spanish Empire, this cathedral has seen the coronations of emperors Augustine I and Maximilian I of Mexico in the 19th century, and has been part of many other events in the history of the North American continent. And of course, that's not even where the history of this very place starts. On this spot, this very spot was the seat of empire for the Mexica or Aztec people. They built their Great Pyramid, the Templo Mayor, whose foundations can still be seen around the corner of the cathedral, and whose stones appear to this day in the walls of all the colonial era buildings around the neighborhood. At my home university, Tufts University, I sit on the Sustainability Council. So I'm here in Mexico City for the annual conference of the International Sustainable Campus Network, which had great sessions envisioning how university communities could rise to the occasion of the challenges of our time. Since the conference was on the grounds of Mexico's National University, UNAM, the participants took a tour of the center of the campus, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of the famous combination of architecture and murals, including murals by Diego Rivera and Orozco and Siqueiros, which influenced the history of both the arts of architecture and murals. The campus also includes the 1968 Olympic Stadium, where the famous event happened with the Black Power raised fish on the victory stand on the very spot where this photograph was taken. I should tell about my overland travel to get here, because I'm aware that most people would see it as difficult, bordering on foolhardy. Still, hear me out. I took the overnight train from Boston to Chicago, passing the Hudson Valley and the Indiana countryside, and then another overnight train from Chicago to San Antonio, passing St. Louis at sunset and seeing the wide open Texas grasslands, and then buses and segments from San Antonio to Mexico City, including crossing the Rio Grande, which is of course an unassuming river to look at, but is connected with so much history and human importance and even pain. And then in Monterey, where the climate crisis has induced a water crisis in the past year, then through the deserts of central Mexico, finally San Luis Potosí, another wonderful colonial era town with cathedrals that are so much older and Baroque than you could find in the United States. The travel costs me less time than you might think. I have my system down pat for working long hours on the laptop during my travels. And in my own view, this technology, such as these comfortable buses and these trains, even in an era of jet setting, really are appropriate technology for our times. Just this morning, walking to the city center to make this video, I stopped for coffee at a corner coffee shop. And in passing conversation, without prompting from me, the proprietor mentioned that he has long thought poorly of borders and frontiers and the way they divide us as human beings. At my conference this week, I spoke at length with a sustainability staff person from a regional university in Ciudad Juarez on the Mexico side of the border region, which is under so much stress in these times. She teaches sustainability classes to students in the maquila factories in the evenings so that they can advance their careers by having certifications in energy efficiency. She was delighted to attend the international conference this year because it was in Mexico City, not too far from her. But neither she nor I would be able to necessarily attend in other years. For example, next year, this annual conference will be in Switzerland. I make these videos rather than just essays and words to share in a more tangible way a vision of what life would be like if the tradition among university people was to travel overland or even to travel less frequently rather than flying from place to place. I imagine what our university sustainability organizations could do if they moved beyond composting and energy efficient buildings and recycling and really started to imagine with a sense of social justice what are the types of changes in fossil fuels consumption that the times really call for. I imagine sustainability councils or organizations like the International Sustainable Campus Network could build on their excellent past work and really look into the next level of transformation. Look around, far from being miserable or some type of austerity. It would be a joy.